This video is a step-by-step guide for writing an annotated bibliography. An annotated bibliography is a research tool that you can use to write a research paper. So the idea is that you collect a bunch of sources, you skim through them, and then write a paragraph about each one and put them together in a works cited page list. This allows you to use this as a research tool, and it makes it easier to access your information when you sit down to write the paper. So the first step is to choose a topic. Now for this assignment, your research paper, you can choose any topic that you want. I really recommend brainstorming first. Sit down with a 5 to 10 minute free write and just brainstorm a list of things that you have always wanted to know more about. This could be things that you are interested in pop culture. This could be your favorite artist. This could be just something that you have seen floating around in the news that you would like to know more about. The only restriction is that you do need to be able to find 10 academic sources about your topic. Now, they don't need to be standard academic sources. If you're choosing a more of a pop culture topic, then you might have sources that are more appropriate for your topic. But you do need to be able to find 10 good, credible sources about your idea. Consider unusual topics as well. Usually the best topics students choose are ones that I can tell they really want to know more about. So they didn't choose this topic just because they know they can find information about it. So eating disorders, for example, doesn't make a very good research paper topic unless you've been affected by eating disorders or you know someone who has an eating disorder. If it's personal, then it might be a good topic. But if it's not, if you're just choosing it because you know there's a bunch of information out there, then you will not enjoy writing the paper and your reader will be able to tell. Choose a topic that you desire to research. So maybe you're a huge Game of Thrones fan. That would be a great place to start. There will be ideas in the module for you, but in general, you want to be thinking about anything that you desire to learn more about, and usually we can turn that into a research paper topic. Once you've cemented your topic, and think broad to begin with, we will narrow down as we go. So if you're interested in World War II, for example, start looking at information about World War II. We will then narrow down to maybe you want to do the Holocaust or World War II in the Pacific or World War II in Europe as we go. So start with library database sources. It's always the best place. Credo Reference is a good database to look at because it gives you some nice encyclopedia type entries. Some of the EBSCOhost articles might help, but they're sometimes a little dense. But you can kind of look around through those databases and get a start there. Then you can expand out to just reputable general websites. Try to avoid, obviously, the Wikipedia type websites. Make sure that you're using credible sources, that sort of thing. You should always start off with the most academic and then kind of expand outward. That way you have something to cross-reference information to. If you see some discrepancies, then you know whether or not a source has good information. You also want to be looking for different types of sources. So these are just some ideas for different types you might look at. A video source, YouTube is fine. A DVD if you want a VHS tape, if you want to get one of those. Personal interview, if you know someone who knows something about the topic, preferably someone with some kind of expertise. So if your sister, for example, has trained several dogs with great success, then you might interview her, even if she's not a professional dog trainer. You need pamphlets. A lot of students choose medical topics. Their grandpa has, whatever, cancer, and so they have pamphlets from that. Web articles and database articles are two different types of sources, so keep that in mind. You can have all websites. So you could have a YouTube video, a web article just from the general website, New York Times or something, and a database article from EBSCOhost, and an ebook. So you would have 4 different types at that point, all web sources. Ebooks and books count together as books. Ebooks obviously are the book in electronic form. And then we can also use merchandise. So I encourage you to kind of think outside the box. If it has words on it, we might be able to use it as a source. So just if you have any questions about that, I've had students use things like shampoo bottles before. Generally, it's just one of your sources. You don't want all of your sources to be merchandise, but we can put together a works cited entry for it. It's a little bit more difficult, so I encourage you to contact me if you have something like that. Works cited entry is the next. So you've got all of your sources, or you've got a good stack of sources going. Now you want to start your bibliography itself. So the first thing to do is to look up the source type in Rules to Writers. It starts on page 490. It's a whole list of sources. So let's say you have a general web article. You're probably going to go to page 506 or 507 and look up examples for how to construct those entries. So you follow the model, and it'll tell you to put the author and the title and the web site title and so on and so forth. So you kind of type it out so it looks similar to the model in the textbook. You can also look on the Purdue OWL website if you need help. Put all of your entries in alphabetical order as you type them. It makes it a little bit easier to move around at that point. You can use their websites like EasyBib, Citation Machine, or bidme.org, but they often do not have correct entries. So it is your responsibility to double check them. Just because EasyBib does it does not mean it is correct. So it is your responsibility to make sure that it is correct. The other thing is I don't want you to put any URLs on your works cited pages. They're unnecessary. They take up too much space. So you do not need URLs. I do not want to see any URLs on your works cited page. Now this is the www /http stuff. And you do not need that on your works cited page. Okay, so once you've got your works cited entries written out for your sources, or while you're doing this, they can be concurrent, you're going to put in your paragraphs. And so the point of the bibliography is we have essentially works cited page with paragraphs. And so beneath each citation for that source, you're going to put a paragraph about it. You first want to read or skim the source using critical reading skills we've learned about this semester. Then, beneath the citation for that source, you're going to type a 5 to 8 sentence paragraph. So, I don't expect you to read every single word of the source. If it's short, you can, but if it's a book-length work, you're going to be skimming for the most important points. Think about main ideas that the author makes, main points the author has, that sort of thing. What does the author cover? In that 5 to 8 sentence paragraph, first you will summarize the source. So this is similar to the response essay where you first summarized and then responded. So first you summarize in, I would say, 2, maybe 3 sentences, and then you're going to evaluate the source. So you evaluate the credibility and usefulness of the source. So is it trustworthy? How do you know? Is it useful? And why? There's sources that you may not think of as being useful, and so you can kind of discuss how it fits into your overall idea. So let's say that the source is sort of on a tangent, but you can tie it in somehow. That's where you discuss the usefulness. You can also compare it to other sources, and there's an example in your Rules for Writers textbook that kind of goes over that. The last step then is to write the introduction paragraph and proofread your bibliography. The introduction paragraph should go before the first works cited entry, so all the way at the beginning. You do not have a conclusion paragraph. So your annotated bibliography is an introduction paragraph and then 10 annotations, which are the works cited entries in the paragraphs. You do not need a hook or a thesis in your introduction. You just need to explain your topic and the research parameters. Keep it simple, 4 sentences, 6 sentences, maybe maximum. Focus on, pertinent information, dates that people were alive, definitions if we need them, that sort of thing. And then the other thing you want to do is make sure that you do proofread your entire bibliography, send it into the Writing Center if you need to. Look for errors in your citations, double check those. The one problem with bibliographies is they tend to be awfully repetitious because you're doing the same thing for each source. So it's a little bit tedious to write. So keep an eye on that, make sure that you're not repeating yourself over and over again. The one thing that students use a lot is talks about, which is a really not a very good phrasing. So the author talks about this, and then he talks about this, and then he talks about this. So instead, use different verbs, explains, argues, that sort of thing. And then the other thing that students have trouble with is credible versus creditable. Creditable means worthy of an award, and credible means trustworthy. So most likely you want the word credible, which is where we get our credibility. So students kind of get those confused. So those are some things that you can proofread for. Otherwise, it's supposed to be a fairly simple, straightforward assignment. Again, introduction paragraph, 15 or 10 annotations, really simple research tool that you can use for your research paper. It is kind of tedious and repetitious, so you want to keep in mind that you got to start a little bit early in order to finish on time. So this has been a video explaining sort of step by step how to construct an annotated bibliography.